following the Nigerian Communications Commission (NCC) approval of the raising of telecom tariff by 50%. The Nigeria Labour Congress (NLC) is planning to hold nationwide protests on February 4, 2025 over the recent 50% increase in phone service costs. NLC President Joe Usoroh announced this decision after an emergency meeting on Wednesday. The union sees this price hike as unfair to Nigerians who are already struggling with a low minimum wage of 70,000 naira, high gas prices, rising food costs, expensive electricity bills, and growing inflation. More so, according to the Nigerian telecommunications companies, the hike in tariff aims to address the mounting operational costs, including inflation, exchange rate fluctuations, and the increasing price of key inputs such as diesel and raw materials. Joining us now on this show to discuss the various implications in the implementation of this new tariff hike is Aniekan Usoroh, business development and business communication expert, and head of business development and corporate partnership, S-Mobile Telecoms. Good morning, Mr. Usoroh, and thank you for joining us on the morning show.
Good morning, Dr. Abati.
Well, very quickly, 50% hike in telecom tariffs. Subscribers, consumers of the service are complaining about poor service. They are complaining that life is hard enough. Petrol is over 400% since May 2023. High cost of living that they are facing. The telecom companies are making the same complaints that they have a very difficult business environment. The Nigerian Labour Congress says, well, even with the 70,000 naira minimum wage that government is not yet paying and businesses are not paying, it will amount to an act of cruelty to force Nigerians again to pay more. What do you think? And what is the way forward? We should lose our right to speech. Should we stop talking? Because it looks like talk now has become very expensive in Nigeria. Talk is no longer cheap.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Ruben, and good morning to everybody in the studio and to Nigerians. Thank you for having me. Well, in response to your question, the truth of the matter is that what is required at this point is understanding of what the real issues are, as you've aptly laid out ever so brilliantly. We are looking at what it is that attends to the request, the proposal that was initially made for tariff hike. You know, initially it was meant to be 100%, but what was approved was 50%. The same things that Nigerians, and we are all consumers, the same things that we are all complaining about are the same things that serve as indices for telcos to operate. So the question therefore is, which of these do we pick? Which of the battles do we pick? For instance, cost of diesel has gone up by over 400 to about 600 or something percent over the past decade or so, as you very well know. And by the way, as you pointed out, I think in your submission, these rates have not been shifted over the last 10 years and a few months, all right, or since 2013. So we're saying that, look, if the things that you're complaining about, the cost of fuel, the cost of the volatility of the fluctuating exchange rates, and we're saying that also things like fuel subsidy removal and all these things have a macro and microeconomic effect on the cost of operation for telcos, then it simply just adds up that there will be a need to have tariff hikes, also reviewed. But for me, I think the way forward is that one of the things that happens why Nigerians are, and I am a Nigerian, why Nigerians are sometimes feel really bad about changes is because it takes quite a bit of time from when a policy is put in place or something is done to them feeling the effects of it. And I don't think that this will be something that will happen with regards to this. Remember, one of the things that the telcos must deliver is cost-effective access to qualitative service. And here, one of the things that everyone has been saying is, look, we need to be able to be sustainable. Yes, we're delivering services, but the operational cost of delivering that service is just significantly too high. And we're saying that for telcos to be able to deliver qualitative service, if telecoms shut down in Nigeria for one day, the whole country will literally go into chaos. And so communication is not something that we should downplay. It's absolutely important. And I think that is something that everybody should seek to understand why exactly these proposals and propositions have been made, and for us to find the balance. But I think that it's what we'll see the quick effects of the benefits of in a very short time, or way longer than, say, fuel subsidy and other areas and changes that have happened in the past year, 2 years, or 3 years. Dr. Abati.
I think you've done a good job of explaining your side and the justification for it. I do think that you will struggle to find people who do not understand the position of the telecoms company. We do understand that there is clearly a need for your own bottom lines to be met. This is not a question of greed. I do think that many people do understand that, but we're also looking at the practicality of this hike. If we are saying that the current economic climate facing the country is one where even the minimum wage hasn't been implemented across the board, that people are already struggling as it stands to make ends meet. When it comes to this tariff hike, it is unfair, and it is going to be something that people will struggle to reach. So where is the compromise? I do understand and appreciate that you've gone from 150% now was the level that was approved. So essentially, to your position, there has already been some form of a concession. But here we are with organised labour saying that they want something closer to a 10% hike. Is that feasible to you to avoid a nationwide strike come next month?
I will say that what we need to perhaps pay attention to is to get creative. When we look at the bottom line, the bottom lines are there, the figures are there. They don't, like you rightly said, it's not they're not stories. It's very clear. But I think that what needs to be done, and I suggest this across the sector, is that there has to be creativity in terms of pricing. There has to be pricing models that allows for degrees of flexibility, degrees of instrumental payment, and all these things can be done so that people can have access. Look, 2 keywords, all right? The statements I made earlier simply summarize what needs to happen: cost-effective access to sustainable quality service delivery. And so we need to be able to create access. The real issue and the real complaints and challenge that people are looking at is access. And so if this is what is required to be able to deliver sustainable, good quality service, then we need to be creative around how prices are introduced and create models of flexibility, and pretty quickly as well, to ensure that at least people can buy at certain levels, lower levels of bundles and lower levels of recharge, so that they can have access on needs basis. Those that need to buy certain amounts on so will be able to do that, but we have to be flexible enough, not necessarily in terms of what the rate is for what the tariff is, but flexible in the area of accessing that tariff. And those are 2 different things, and I think that enough attention, and critical attention as it were, must be paid to that as well.
Let's talk about cheating of the customer. Sometimes people have complained that 1 gig is not 1 gig. The credit goes so fast. A lot of these telco companies bring about deals that are not true, that when you sample them, it's not true. And there's been a lot of, call drop, quality of service. Let's talk about all those things. And can we also add in the fray the money that is still being owed the telcos by the banks for the USSD?
Right. And it's great to see you, Rufai. Now, the truth of the matter is that everything that you've said is all part of the mix. So we have a situation that is multifaceted, a lot of things overlaying and interplaying, yet at the end of the day, we seem to just be having a conversation, as it were, about, we're increasing tariff. There's a lot going on. If we want to talk about the quality of service, the truth of the matter is that a lot more has to be done in that regard. There has to be stronger regulation. that happened. And I speak on both sides. I speak as someone in the industry, and I speak as a consumer myself, because at the end of the day, we're all end consumers, and we must take that into cognizance. And so we need to also look at the issue of the quality of service. Look, the quality of service is something that telcos are holding up as the need, because look, we are operational cost and all of that, but we're holding the quality of service as something as a need that should be the aftermath, the effect that happens, the change that happens with regards to being able to have more revenue available, to be able to do operations, buy new equipment, have stronger partnerships and stronger collaborations that would deliver better service. Now, that's on one side. We're also talking of complaints that have come in severally over, 1 gig isn't 1 gig. And I think that boils down to the point of regulation. There are many steps, right? And time permits me to go into that. There are many steps in the chain of the sales and distribution of telco services. You have wholesalers, resellers, end users, and all of that. And at certain points on different platforms, there are data is stepped down. Now, all those things have and must be looked into, because with regards to service experience, there's no excuse for 1 gig not being 1 gig. However, there are also different types. I will have you know that there are also different types of data. So you could have SME data plus, you could have SME data, and people also need to know that, this is the type. You could have broadband data. This is the type of data I'm paying for. And I think that going forward, one of the things that should happen should be better education. People should be aware, and the telcos also have the responsibility of putting it out there that, look, there are different classes of data. So you think you're paying for this type of data, but what you're actually paying for is the data that burns faster. And it's not because you're being cheated. It's because you really didn't know what you were buying. And I think the fault of that and the responsibility rather lies at the end of the telcos to be able to make that information available. It will surprise you to know that out of the over 200 million, subscribers we have in Nigeria, and the 168 or 160 million internet subscribers we have in Nigeria, that the awareness of such various and varied data plans is rather low. So there's a lot that has to be done in regards of that. It's not just a one bullet problem.
Aniekan,
yes, sir.
If you can hear me. Now, I think it was Carl Toriola,
I can hear you.
MTN CEO, who made the point that, look, before government agreed to this hike, there was a commitment on the part of the telcos that there will be an improvement in service delivery. What is the guarantee that Nigerians will get better service in a country where consumer protection is treated in a cavalier manner? Is there any guarantee? Let's talk about the consumers. Because if we are made to pay more, are we going to get better service? Where is the guarantee? And government is saying it will still go to that 100%. Let's talk about the consumers, with the long-suffering people of Nigeria.
Absolutely, Dr. Bati. But my take on this is that, yes, I believe very strongly, right, from data and knowing what's going on in the industry, that the telcos are positioned to be able to deliver better service. The constraint is very clear. The constraint is not made up. The constraint is not non-negligible. It can't be pushed aside. And it's been clear that, look, more revenue is required. An increment in the cost of tariff or simply allows for more revenue to be better for operational costs. The operational cost, better operations delivers better service. It's very clear. And so it's a very high expectation that I have. And like finally, I said also, it's actually a low-hanging fruit for the telcos.
So finally, what are you saying to the Nigerian Labour Congress? NLC wants to go on strike.
I am saying So I'm saying to NLC this morning that it is better to come back to the table and get deeper understanding. Understand that this is something that is required to happen at this point, and we're going to see the outcome of it way faster than other things. Understand that communication is important and that there's no need for us to heat up the polity a little bit more, but that if we all sit down yet again and have a deeper understanding of what needs to be done, then we can find a way forward. There's no need to call a national strike. You are going to be relying on communication to do that. And if things happen and that kind of service, you want to boycott it, and those kind of services are no longer being offered, it's going to be a bit of a challenge in the country. We have too many things to deal with, and we shouldn't make this one of it.
Aniekan, Usoroh, thank you very much for joining us on the morning show today and for your insightful analysis on this issue.